Run Ultra team. I hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year, and we are all back to work this week. Um, Tonight we have Richard Weremiuk from Beyond Marathon coming to talk to us. He puts on races such as Escape from Meriden. I always thought it was Meridian, but it's not Meridian, is it? It's Meriden. And was also involved in the organisation of the Hill recently, that was brought to everyone's consciousness by Sarah Perry being the only person to complete it. He definitely puts on some really interesting races. I did one of his a few years ago where we were running around London, escaping spies, making sure that we weren't caught, finding checkpoints, and it was enormous fun. And we basically run from one side of it to the other, and we had to get there by a certain time, avoiding detection. Um, and tonight I'm also joined as a guest host by Faye Johnson. Faye is one of the coaches at Maximum Mileage Coaching. She is also my coach, and she's also one of the Run Ultra testers. She has kindly uh, agreed to join me as Robin is taking January off. You may not know that Robin, well, you probably do know because he is the running accountant, but he is an accountant and January is obviously very busy for him. So he's taken January off, and Faye, who is just coming on right now, has kindly agreed to fill in tonight for tonight's podcast. So we'll let her get set up. Hello, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm good.
We can hear you.
There we go.
Yeah, all good. I'm just
All good.
explaining that Robin, I don't know if you know this, but yeah, he's basically taking January off um, because he's an accountant and everyone.
Yeah, I imagine it's a pretty stressful
Yeah,
time of year
yeah,
for any
yeah.
accountant.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it just sort of I just thought it was sensible. I know what he's like. He takes on too much. He says yes to too many things.
Mm,
And I said, look, why don't you just don't worry about Run Ultra.
yeah.
Just sort your clients out, including me and Run Ultra. And I'll go it alone. And then you've kindly agreed to join me tonight. Um, I do also need to thank our sponsor, Core. Nick sent me a message earlier today to let me know how he was getting on with, because he's testing the Core 2.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've spoken to him about it at all, but
No,
he does seem quite keen on this heat training, doesn't he?
he is.
Um,
It's definitely something that he's
it's
he's
definitely
practicing and
a thing,
advocating.
isn't it? It's a thing now.
Mm,
So he said that the core two is, he says it's more accurate. He thinks than the first one because he reviewed the original one for us last year. And he says the way it attaches to his heart rate monitor is better as
hmm.
well. But definitely he says he thinks it's more accurate, and he is now, I think, I don't even know what this means, but he is now 22% acclimatized. What that means, I don't know. I can't wait to read his review. Um, and yeah, he says it definitely reflects when he does his active heat training. Apparently, he runs in a suit on a treadmill. Oh my
Yeah.
God, why? And he said
I can't think of
originally,
anything worse.
no, I mean, it just how to make something even more terrible to make it even worse. But he said originally when he started doing it, I mean, he could barely run. It's sort of run walking. It was just incredibly hard, and he's just sweating bucket loads.
Mm,
But as his sort of score has gone up,
mm,
that's reflected by the fact that he is now able to stay running.
yeah.
So. But that should be coming out soon. But yeah, so big thank you to Core for sponsoring us again. So how was your Christmas? And tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
Well, Christmas was good. I
Hmm.
had a whole 2 weeks off, which always feels like a bit of a gift
Yay.
nowadays.
Yes.
Um, but no, it was nice. It was very relaxed, and it was just nice to not have to be anywhere at a certain time or do anything in particular, which is what I love most about that time of year because it kind of take away the external push and pull of everything that's going on.
Mm, mm,
But it was nice. But I'm quite pleased to be back to some kind of routine now
yeah.
and back to some kind of normality.
Excellent. Excellent. Have you got any goals this year?
So this year I am planning to get back to the mountains, which I haven't done anything for a couple of years now. So I'm going to do UTS 25 in May
Hmm.
and then Lakeland 50 in July.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I haven't done a 50-mile race for a few years. So again,
Okay.
it's the first time I did it, I think it was ignorance was bliss, and I was riding some great wave of success. And when you go, it was just at the right time, and it's still to this date, the 50 miler that I did was one of the best things I've ever raced. I just loved
Yeah.
every single minute of it.
What did you do? Which
So
one?
I did what was known as Ultra Trail Wales in its original form. So it
Okay.
was it
Yes.
was it was so I think now it's been taken over by GB Ultras, I think. But
Okay.
prior to that, it was run by the same team, Matt Ward that was Coy Brennan and all those events. So they ran it for a couple of years, but it was logistically quite a big thing to lay on, and I think subsequently it then got handed over to
Okay.
someone else. But the route was just incredible because it was South Snowdonia, so it was kind of you got a mixture of mountains, you got a bit of the coast in like Barmouth, and then you came back round and into the forest, and it was just a real good mix of everything,
Okay.
really.
All right.
So yeah,
Mm.
it was good. So I'm hoping that yeah, I think it's going to be harder this time. But yeah, at 7 years on,
Uh,
I think it'll be
I don't know. I mean, the fifth, Lake 50 is very runnable.
yes,
It's
yeah.
much more runnable than the first half. Um, it's definitely tracks and
Yes,
trails.
exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think, I mean, I must say I don't know what the Wales route was like, but having done 50K of UTS, I mean, there's definitely nothing like that.
Yeah, it was definitely hilly, which is what, yeah. I
Yeah,
think in that sense, yeah, Lakeland 50 will be a little less
little less
demanding in that
severe. Yes,
respect. But no, I'm
yes,
excited because it's something I love doing and it's been a while since I've done it. So it'll be nice to, yeah,
yeah.
get back to that. So yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, and Richard is just joining us as we speak. So, oh, well, that's yeah. I will see you up there, hopefully,
Yeah.
as and when I ever move before I shoot myself. Hi, Richard.
Hello,
Welcome.
can you hear me okay?
Yes, absolutely
Good.
perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to introduce you to my guest co-host tonight, who is Faye Johnson. Uh,
Hello.
she is a friend. She's my coach. She's a run ultra tester, and yeah, she's come to join us.
All right.
So, gosh, did you have a good Christmas? Have you had a relaxing
Yes.
time?
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, always difficult to get back to work, of course, this week. I've forgotten all my
Mm.
passwords and all of that kind of stuff as usual. But it was a nice break. Unfortunately, Christmas has come just in time for the kids to get a couple of days worth of sledging before they start tomorrow. But it's
Okay.
nice
Oh,
and relaxing.
bless. Oh, bless. I believe your day job is as an architect. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm not an architect in the building sense. I'm an IT and solutions architect. So I kind of contract for various organisations and
Ah,
put together very dull IT and telephony designs and things like that. Nothing that anyone would be remotely interested in. It pays my bills basically.
yeah. Is that what drove you outdoors and into running?
What drove me outdoors, oddly enough, was not really doing it before. As strange as it may sound, more than 20 years ago, I think I found myself fairly unfit, and I did one of those Bupa health MOT things that they peddle to you from time to time. See, and they said, actually, you're okay, but you're very, very unfit. So I thought, oh, I better do something about that. So I got myself a personal trainer and started running. I couldn't run 1 mile. You know, I was embarrassing myself 600 meters into a treadmill on a gym session. So I thought I'm gonna have to do something about this and get a little bit fitter. And so I began a journey of getting a little bit fitter. And then one day, how did I do ultras? It was one day I was watching Ben Fogle about 20 odd years ago do the Marathon des Sables, and I thought I'd like to do that. And my girlfriend at the time basically dared me to do it. So I found myself an accidental ultra runner by virtue of being dared to do the Marathon des Sables,
Oh,
which is
wow.
how it began.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, yeah. I mean, at the time, you know, it's hot and sandy, as they say. I had to go from nothing. I'd built myself a 2-year plan to go from a mile to taking part in the Marathon des Sables. So I hadn't run a 3K, a 5K, a half marathon, a marathon, or anything else. So a very
That's
wrote a very
incredible, isn't it?
fixed program for 2 years
Wow.
to get myself to a level where I could even think as though I could turn up and show my face on the start line. And I got round and I finished it. And, you know, that set the spark of maybe I could do a bit more of this and do a bit better next time. So that's,
I mean, that's
that's how.
quite a commitment, isn't it? I mean,
That's
two
incredible.
years.
Mm.
I suppose do you enter it that far in advance? And
You did, yeah. Back in the day, I mean, I don't know how it plays out now. It was a lot cheaper when I entered it 20 odd years ago. It was still expensive. I want to say it was maybe 1,500 quid, which felt like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But these days, I think it's upwards of £5,000, and you have to pay
yeah.
for flights and all sorts on top. Back then, it was controlled by a company called Best of Morocco, who were like a travel agent. I don't know how they got the gig, but they were given control of the MDS, and I just kind of had to apply, I think, 2 years in advance. I think 1 year was oversubscribed, so I had to apply 2 years in advance. Even if it wasn't have been, I don't think I would have been ready to prepare just for 12 months from going from
No.
someone who couldn't run 600 meters on a treadmill. So I did enter, you know, about 2 years in advance, and I was ready at that point in time. Yeah, I felt pretty prepared by then.
So, gosh, okay. So after that, you're hooked on ultras.
Mm.
What then made you think I want to do my own or put
Yeah.
on my own?
I think it was going and doing lots of more of these, and I started touring all over the world, doing various other ultra marathons of a similar nature, all of the racing the planets and things like that. And you meet, as you do on every ultra, even in the UK, you meet like-minded people that you meet. You know, you've got so much in common with people you've never met before, and you spend a little bit of time with them. You're all obsessing over the same things. And on one of those races in the UK, I happened upon Mark Cobain, who is another well-known race director, as he came tumbling down a hill in the middle of deepest, darkest Rayada, completely lost on an event. And we bumped into each other, got to know each other over the course of the rest of this ultra. I think it was I forget it was I forget, Rayada Mountain Trail, I think it was called. It was a particularly tough race. We got chatting about races that we'd done, races we want to do, and we both said we'd like at some point to start our own organisations and put people through the same kind of thing that we did. We subsequently went away and did a couple of races together abroad, and those plans kind of solidified into our own individual companies. So it was a driver of that was the initial driver
Yeah, yeah.
of doing that. Subsequently, the driver changed a little bit, because what happened was in 2011, my girlfriend, now wife, got malignant melanoma, which is a particularly nasty form of skin cancer. I mean, they're all bad kinds of skin cancer, but the malignant melanoma is not a not a one that I would wish upon anybody. She ended up having several operations, lymph nodes and all sorts of things removed, and big chunk of her arm is missing. Not her arm, her upper arm is missing. And as a result of that, she got lots of really good care from the Macmillan nurses and things like that. And we thought it'd be a good way to try and give back by raising some money. And I hadn't yet organised an ultra, and we started fishing around for ideas. What could I do for an ultra? I've done lots of them in the UK. Let's think of something a bit different. And we hit on the idea of doing something in the dark because the sunshine had caused the skin damage to her arm. So I came up with the idea of a race called Dusk Till Dawn, which, as the name suggests, started on the stroke of sundown and finished on the stroke of sunrise. There's no sun out there to damage your skin. And I would give all the money away to Macmillan, which is exactly what I did. So come the end of the race, totted up, I don't know, a couple of £1,000 that the race had made, gave it all away. And then only to find a couple of months later, being very green to all of this, that I'd forgotten I needed to pay accountants and various other things like this, bills for the overheads for the company.
Oh, no.
So I ended up out of pocket. I thought, well, if I organised another race, then I can pay for some of those bills, and it snowballed a little bit after that. So that's kind of how I got into the initial organising of the races.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
Wow.
Yes, Dusk Till Dawn, I think, is one of your better known ones, isn't it? Was that in the Peak District?
It was, yeah. I haven't organised it for a good few years, but it was the unique thing about it was, one, it was at night, which at the time there were a few night ultras, not very many. But I also hit on this idea of the grim sweeper who would be chasing everybody around the course, starting a little bit after everybody else. This person would be stalking all of the participants, and he was timed exactly to be moving with the speed of the sun. And if the grim sweeper caught you up, you were kind of ruled out of the race. In later editions, we gave the opportunity for people to carry on, but they'd been caught and captured, so to speak. So it was a tough old race with about 2,500, 3,000 meters of elevation, starting from Castleton and then weaving all the way around area Buxton, Edale, and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's a good, challenging race, but haven't run it for a few years. The last edition, I think it was 2018. Again, we raised some money for a different charity, and we
I think yes, I do remember that. My friend Phil Bradburn did it.
He did.
Yes.
He did the very first one as well as some of the others. Bizarrely, I can almost remember quite a lot of the people that do my first race. I don't know why, but a lot of the names, you see them time and time again, of course. But Phil was one of the original participants of Dusk Till Dawn. He subsequently has come back and done lots of the events. But yes, it sticks in my mind as an early.
Well, I imagine your first participants are probably quite special to you because you're sort of immensely pleased that they've turned up. I can see that.
We were pleased that the race sold out. It sold out very quickly. I think it was because it was very novel. An idea that hadn't been done before, and it sold out very, very quickly. 100 places. It was just a modest size. We set ourselves a modest amount, a field size of 100. It was based out of a youth hostel the youth hostel in Castleton. I can't remember the name of the youth hostel now, but the main one in Castleton. And I forget how many people finished, but it was about 50 or 60% got round, and it was it made for an interesting introduction to the race. Still to this day, interestingly, we've never had weather as bad as we had on that first ever race I'd ever organised. It was a little bit traumatic as a first-time race director to get hit with worse than anticipated or worse than forecast weather, and we ended up essentially calling a short end or calling time on the race in the last kind of 10 miles or so, and one person went astray. We had to go out searching for them. They'd just taken the wrong turn. There was nothing wrong, but all sorts of things you don't want to happen certainly ever happened on a first time race. It was a baptism of fire, but an enjoyable one. And we raised money, and it sparked an interest in helping other people realize their goals of completing an ultra, and that's really one of the drivers why I still do it today. Really, it's the kind of the main reason. Raising money and helping people get to the end of these races, they are the drivers.
I just want to say, Faye, if you want to just cut in and ask questions,
Yeah, no,
just dive in.
yeah.
Okay, well, so it's really interesting because your races are known for being quirky, um, but not like as savage as Mark Cobain's are. But you obviously complement each other quite well as well, with because you've I don't know. I mean, it does seem to change. It's sort of quite fluid what races you put on and don't put on. They're not like sort of regular every year, are they? But the hill is one you put on together with him, isn't it?
I help that one. I can very much put in Mark's.
Okay.
That's Mark's fault. It's nothing to do with me. The hill isn't. So I'll absolve myself of responsibility. I have helped Mark source hills, find the hills, if you like.
Mm,
So the very first one he ever put on, which was the one on Shining Tour in the Peak District, I helped him find that venue and find that hill.
okay.
That
Yeah.
subsequently went away, and I've helped on most of the other locations it's come to. So it certainly isn't a race that I'm responsible for. I think it's one of those that's a little bit beyond my level of crazy. I apologise to
Yeah.
Mark for that, but take that as a compliment
I
without a
think
doubt.
he'd love that. Yes.
But I go along and help. So I was there at the Wrekin Hill, which is very
Yes.
close to my house, just a
Yes.
couple of miles
Yeah.
away. I
Okay.
helped
Yeah.
at recently, and of course we saw Sarah Perry
Yes.
do tremendously well, and finished was the
Yeah.
only finisher. So privileged to watch her in action again. So
Yes,
she
that must have been
did,
fun.
did one of mine. She won my Offa's Dyke race about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, just before she started to get known and sign for the
Mm.
Innovate, and she won that as well. So you could see she was clearly a very good athlete. But Mark and I, we co-organise a few races together, and we've organised things in the Peak District. We organise next year. I think we're doing the Fallout race, which is a little bit similar to Escape from Meriden. And you're right, it is pretty fluid in terms of the races that I organise, and there's two reasons for that. One is I don't want people to get bored doing the same
Mm.
races in and out. There are a few which I keep year on and year off because they're continuously, because people are interested in them.
Mm.
Other ones where there isn't quite so much demand, both myself and Mark have found it's better almost to give races a rest sometimes and revisit them a year or two later, and that way the interest
Mm.
is built back up again. And people, will come and sign up, and we rotate them round. One of the other reasons I do it is I've pared really back. The amount of races I used to run at one point in time might have been a dozen in a year, which was a good few years ago. But I've pared those right back now to probably about 4 or 5 a year. And the main reason for that as well is to keep the races affordable. I deliberately keep Beyond Marathon under the VAT limit by carefully controlling the number of races and the number of entries, and that way I don't have to charge people another 20%, which just goes to the tax man. Because as you probably gathered, I don't do it for the money. I don't
No.
take a wage from it. So it is just it's to try and keep the races as affordable as I can. So I just do just
Yeah.
the right amount of races that one, it doesn't feel like a job to me. I still go into
Yes.
the races fresh, enjoy welcoming people at the start and at the finish line, and I never feel as though I'm having to kind of earn for it. It's always
Yeah.
enjoyable. So
Yeah.
they're the kind of reasons for it. Yeah.
And your profits still go to charity?
Vast majority, yes. All of them, no, they don't. We've got expenses, of course, for the race.
Yes.
Every race has to make a profit fundamentally. There's
Mm.
been a few along the way which I've had to cut because I've lost a significant amount of money from them. I used to do one from Scotland to Wales, tried it a few times. Each year it lost a lot of money. It was only propped up by the other races making enough money to keep it going. But every year, pretty much everything I give away. So I don't think in 10 years the race has made any profit that I've had to pay capital gain tax for, not in 10 or 12 or 13 years, however long we've been going now. So I will give pretty much everything away. So we've
Mm.
given away to Macmillan for the first few years. I did a couple of years for the brain tumour charity. That was a personal, my father died of a brain tumour, so we gave money to brain tumour charity. Most recently this year, the profits have gone to SAFA, which is the Armed Forces charity. one of my eldest son, who's grown up, he's 21, if you say grown up. He joined the military a couple of years ago, and as a way I can kind of help, because I don't have any kind of military background or anything like that. I thought it'd be nice to support the industry it is that he was in and support veterans and things like that. So I
Yeah, lovely.
donated, and I'm still involved in helping an armed forces ultramarathon company and charity by donating trackers and things to them, and my kind of help and stuff as well. So that's the plan really for the next few years. Probably the charity I'll be supporting are some of the armed forces charities.
Oh, great. Well, I mean, that leads us very
Yeah.
nicely into your other side business, which is the tracking side
Mm.
of things. How have you found that, and has that grown sort of recently with the uprise in dot watching? Have you seen that popularity, and has it grown that you've seen from your side?
It has for certain. I mean, I first got involved in tracking again. It was probably, I want to say it was about 2013, a couple of years after I started events. I thought it'd be a good idea to track people. Initially, I created a mobile app called Race Drone. It was a very, very old app. I got an external company I outsourced it to the Far East, actually. A company wrote this for me. And it was a basic website. But it was functional. Worked with a mobile phone, not with trackers at the time. Later, I added the trackers. Subsequently, I wasn't that happy with that platform and the company that developed it. So I engaged a UK organization to rewrite a complete platform from the ground up for me, which is the Track Trail platform, which is used today. And extremely busy. I mean, that's a business which supports a couple of employees now. So whilst I don't directly maintain day-to-day involvement in that, so when the phone rings, somebody else picks up the phone and answers and things like that, I am still involved in the strategic level of decision-making, product guidance and things like that. But it's good that I've got a business which is successful in supporting some employees and involved in a lot of different markets. But yeah, the explosion in tracking has gone exponential with the number of ultras. When I first started running ultras, I think I could count fewer than 10 or 15, and a lot of those were long distance walkers and things like that. And now I don't know how many hundred there are in the UK. I used to maintain a calendar. I've given that up these days. There are other people who've got enough time on their hand to be able to maintain it, and the amount of races is incredible, and the amount of people who are interested in dot watching as well. It gives people who are sitting at home that connection to the race, to that person who's doing it. They don't have to be there, but they can see, and it's so addictive. We've all sat there watching, the Spine and the Dragon's Back and various other races where we can see the little dot moving along, and it is completely addictive. So yes, we've been very successful off the back of that, and in all sorts of markets. Ultra markets I supply as well, but you can name a sport or an activity, and I supply trackers for it, even if it's individuals climbing mountains or it's people going on treks to the opposite side of the world. So it's definitely very busy and continuing to grow. So we go to trade fairs, exhibitions, all sorts of things, and it's been really successful. It's exciting to see. There's more players in the market now. There's more people providing tracking services. The technology is getting better, so it's becoming more affordable for smaller races to use as well. So we're starting to see even single day races starting to use tracking, whereas previously the price barrier was out of reach for them. But now, as technology's got a little bit smaller, it's a little bit less costly. It's become more affordable to race directors and all sorts of sports.
Yeah. I wonder if dot watching a sort of a shorter race can be as addictive as the longer stuff. I'm just trying to think. I mean, with certainly even with your race, Escape from Meriden, so being able to scale out and see the dots just in this amazing radius was just fascinating. Whereas if you're on a sort of shorter race, let's say a 50-mile race, you're not really going to get that sense of scale and movement across the landscape, are you?
No, it's true. And I would say up till a few years ago, probably 50 miles was one of the races, the shorter races, which we would track. Very rarely would we get approached by race organisers doing a 50k or anything
Mm,
like that, because it would be over, and it's still potentially over in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, whatever it might be.
yeah.
And yeah, the spectacle isn't there in terms of watching a multi-day race like Escape from Meriden 24 or 48 hours, or the Dragon's Back, where you're watching it for many days.
Mm,
But people are still glued to results, even something like the London Marathon, which, albeit not
Mm,
tracked, when you're watching someone do the London Marathon, you're still looking at their mat times, which is only really one step removed from
yes.
tracking. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years' time you're going to see the tracking technology drop down to that kind of a level where you're watching even half marathons and marathons being fully tracked every step of the way.
Gosh, that would be incredible, wouldn't it? So a
it
million
would,
dots
yeah.
all in one place.
Yeah.
It will happen. I'm certain. The technology is getting smaller, batteries are getting better, and in reality, you could do
Mm,
it today. It's just people still don't want to wear something which is a little bit inconvenient. As soon as they shrink down in a few more years to
yeah,
something
yeah.
the size of the shoe chips, you're then going to see, I think, tracking across even
Mm,
very short races, and that will they'll combine with the timing, aspect completely. And yeah, that's how it's going to go. I think maybe a few years away before we're watching 10Ks from a tracking perspective. It certainly won't be as interesting as watching the spine or anything else like that. But it still does provide. It's for people who can't be there. That's their
Yeah.
view.
mm,
So
mm.
they can see what's going on.
That's fascinating. It's such a, just to hear you talk about that kind of side of the running world. I'm just fascinated at the decision that you made to go into tracking
Mm.
and, think this would be a great thing to do. And who would have known, like, 15 years ago, how much ultra running would explode? And it's like you said, not even now is it just about the distance of a race, but I guess the technicality of a race, because, a race might be 50k, but it might be incredibly technical, which
Mm.
adds that other layer of kind of jeopardy to
Mm.
following a race. But no, I think I would never in a million years have thought, let's go into tracking. So I think that's brilliant. I just think, yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
was partially selfish, wanting to track my own races, being an IT person, I suppose, and
Yeah.
having access to developers who could create something like that for me. It seemed fairly logical to do it. I'd got a very basic timing system at the time. I've got a professional timing system now for that timing, but the tracking, I thought I can do this with putting some of my expertise together. And it was partially due to the experiences on Dusk Till Dawn, where we lost somebody for a little
Mm,
while. Essentially, I mean, it ended happily, but you come out of that thinking, do you know what I could really do with knowing where everybody was?
Yeah.
And mobile signal is a bit of a premium still in Shropshire, where I am right now.
yeah.
I struggle to get a mobile signal downstairs in my house. So it's not always is a mobile phone going to find you the person you want to find. So that safety aspect is very key. Certainly for people who hire trackers from us doing things like expeditions, or they're doing ultras where they're going into, I don't know,
Mm.
the Cairngorms or Cape Wrath or somewhere like that, where there's no
Mm,
mobile signal, or
yeah.
very little. And at that point in time, your tracker, as well as becoming the portal to the outside, becomes a critical safety piece of equipment for the race director, where they can instantly hold up their phone, look on a map, and know precisely where that person is. Or should that person get into difficulty, they punch an SOS button on the tracker, and they can get help sent to them very quickly from the race director, from the medical team. So
Mm.
whilst it's kind of me selfishly looking after my own races, I then started being approached initially by other people saying, can we use this as well in various other markets? So initially I didn't do a great deal of marketing, really. It was very organic. People saw it working, and came to me, and word of mouth, like anything else, or a good race, a good tracking system, people come to you and they have an interest. They've seen somebody else using it, they've seen it in action, they've been recommended to you, and it grows the business. And it also helps race directors sell their event to other people as well. If people widely share a link on social media, all of a sudden people who weren't even aware of that race become aware of it.
It's free
They might be
marketing.
Yeah.
It's a great marketing tool, as you said, like that window, like you share a link on social media, and even the people who have never thought about that particular race or even that type of running just have to click on it to then know about it. And then even if it starts that conversation of, oh my God, have you seen this race where they run the length of Wales? Interest, because I work with people who have absolutely no interest in running, and subsequently that, like, even you start talking about those big races that you can follow people and track the whole route, and it strikes up a conversation in a non-running community, so it kind of opens the door to the whole world for people to see. But also, just I guess around peace of mind for a race director must be significant to have that tracking system. Like you say, if you lose someone on an event, it's like heart in mouth moment, isn't it? But if you can simply go, right, they're located here, it's a huge weight off the shoulders of anybody, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it doesn't give you the whole picture, but you at least know where somebody is. You could still be in a scenario where you know where somebody is, but they've not moved for a long time, and you wonder why have they not moved for a long time. We've tried to add some features in recently where people can actually communicate messages through the tracking system, and I'll give you the use case for that. And that is if a multi-day race or a long distance race, somebody decides to rest for a while. And on most tracking systems, mine and others included, the system itself will give you a clear signal that person is stationary and rested. So you know that they're standing still. What you don't know is why. So we've added a feature in now where they can just text a message into our system, and it will display that message at that time. It'll say, I aim to bivvy here for 2 hours or something like that, because you don't know if that person has stopped because they have a medical emergency or they've stopped because they're resting. So tracking technology is still evolving. It can still add more and more value than just a dot on the screen or an SOS button. It is a way, hopefully, to get a bit of two-way communication going, or for one person to broadcast to a lot of people at once. This is my situation, and that way a race director can say, oh, why hasn't that dot moved for a half hour or 2 hours or 4 hours, and investigate why that is. And if there's a message there that's saying I'm planning on resting, everything's good.
You
if
don't
there's
have
no
to dispatch
there,
someone.
go and take a look. So it's still an evolving product, and we and all the other tracking systems are constantly adding more and more useful features to help keep people safe, as well as entertain them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's fascinating. I mean, and it's just one of the aspects that makes me feel like we are just at the start. Our sport is not just started, but it's taking an upward turn, and the sort of things like the tracking systems are taking it upwards.
They are. I mean, technology again is changing so quickly. When you look now that your mobile phone today is talking to one network for most of us, EE or whatever it might be. A few people might have a SIM card which is talking to a couple of different mobile networks. But now you've got on the horizon, well, not even on the horizon, it's been tested in the UK at the moment. You've got the Starlink, Elon Musk satellites, which there's been deals signed with the UK mobile networks, which will mean your mobile phone, without any extra change other than a different contract, probably will be able to speak directly to those satellites. And that means that your phone, let's say it's on O2, you're in the middle of Brecon Beacons, it wouldn't normally work. All of a sudden you can get a message out to that. And that will ripple also through to tracking technology as well, the SIM card technology. Mobile phones and trackers are very similar, or certain types of them are anyway. So we're going to find within the next year or two that blank spots where you're watching the spine, for example, and you go over certain areas of the Peak District where all of a sudden the dots stop moving for a while and there's a bit of a gap in service. Those gaps have been closing, but as soon as the technology where they're able to communicate with satellites directly comes along, that will make every race safer and allow people to spot their friend or their person right the way through these dark spots. So at the moment, it's people have had to use very specific trackers, very expensive trackers, which communicate directly to satellite, like InReach devices. And great as they are, they're not affordable for your race director to deploy 500 of them to a race. There's no race directors who own that many of those particular types of devices because they're so expensive. Yeah. But now they're putting the ability for your typical tracker or mobile phone to communicate with a satellite. That is all going to change now, and we're going to find races that are going to be even more safer. So first of all, you're going to be able to pick up your phone and say, "I'm here." So if you're in a mountain rescue situation, you can. It's going to help mountain rescue as well. Yeah. But from a tracking perspective, that will also too. So watch this space, I think, for the next year or two, and lots of exciting things I think will happen in the tracking space.
Will that not put people like InReach kind of out of business? Because
it will definitely put them under pressure, without a doubt. Will it put them out of business? Probably not. I think people still do like a ruggedized, fully waterproof device that is separate from their mobile phone, because their mobile phone will burn through battery if you're constantly using it for some kind of a tracking feature. So I don't think it's going to put InReach out of business or Spot out of business overnight. I think it will put their profit margins under pressure. I think if you're still going on an expedition, you're probably still going to want the comfort factor of that dedicated device.
Oh yes, the units. I have the GPS unit for the map, as you say. It's more rugged. It's not going to be affected so much by the cold, but it's more that sort of that SOS function.
It is. Yeah, and those devices will contact international emergency response, which are based in the US, and they will contact the UK Coast Guard or UK Police and facilitate a rescue, or wherever you are in the world as well. Whereas your mobile phone, you're still in the realms of, if you have a signal right now, you may be able to contact mountain rescue. If you haven't got a signal, then you're in a bit of a tight spot. So will that change? Hopefully in a few years, maybe. How much cost that going to involve? Nobody knows quite how that's going to play out yet, but certainly I would expect the emergency feature to roll through to a lot of mobile phones, if not all of them, very quickly. It will certainly have an impact on tracking. I can't really see a scenario very soon where people stop using dedicated trackers and rely on mobile phone apps for those same reasons. It's mobile battery life, things like that. You don't want to be in a tight spot using your phone as a tracker and then it runs out and you need some help. So it's going to have an impact on the tracking market. It's not going to shut anybody down anytime soon. No. It's going to help from a safety perspective.
Yeah. Awesome. I'd like to ask you, go back to your races actually. The quirkiness of them. I did one of your races, and I'm afraid to say I've been racking my brain all evening. I cannot remember the name of it, but we were running around London, escaping, or trying to run away from spies or people that might be hunting us down, and we crossed from one side to the other, and we had to find certain checkpoints, and it was enormous fun, and quite chaotic. And again, we had a WhatsApp group as well, didn't we? And we could see our trackers were doing clever things as well. What was that called again?
Metropolis.
Okay, Metropolis, that was great. But that was just like a one-off, wasn't it? I don't think you've done it again.
Not quite. No, it's a complicated story to some extent, but very, very briefly, Metropolis came about as an idea for how we could initially it was how we can make the registration more interesting. When you go to a race event now, a typical packet pickup, you turn up, you give your name, someone hands you a bib or a tracker or a chip, you mill around drinking coffee for an hour, and then you're on your way, and that's the end of it. And you finish the race, you're tired, you get your medal, and it's a little bit memorable, or maybe very memorable. But I how can we make races one more interesting and more memorable? And as you mentioned, the fact that you still remember this one now, it's one that's stuck
Oh
in your mind.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
like to think, what will make somebody say, do you know what, I did this race 5 years ago. I can't quite remember the name of it, but we did some quirky old stuff and we were
yeah,
chatting to
yeah.
actors and all sorts of things in there. So it was the fusing of an ultra run with an immersive aspect, which was
Mm.
the actors. So I hired a cast of actors. I hired a venue which is used for filming. It was an old gunpowder mill on the outskirts of London near Waltham Abbey. I spent months building props. People probably don't
Wow.
realise the amount of detail I went into, but I was making
Uh,
weapons out of aliens, the guns out of aliens. I was spraying them, learning to age them. The amount of detail I
it
went, the
was
rabbit holes I
amazing.
went down was
Registration
incredible.
with soldiers walking around with AK-47s.
Oh, wow.
It was like, oh.
So I hired for that some two people. One, there was some actors, and also I hired some people who used to work at the Alien Experience in the Trocadero Centre in London, where they would be dressed up as Marines out of the film,
Okay.
the James Cameron film
Yeah.
Aliens. And they had all of the gear with the headsets and these big guns and
Yeah.
cameras and
Yeah.
all sorts of things on, and then built a story really around that. So I then interviewed a lot of actors online, wrote a script. So, and I've got no kind of background in script writing or analytics or anything like that. So I skilled up on all of this stuff. Hired a bunch of actors,
Mm.
wrote call sheets for them all and scripts for them all, and wove the story together. And then
Yeah.
obviously got quite a lot of interest. Again, it's a race that filled quite quickly. We kept it a manageable size, and everybody, turned up. Didn't really know what to expect. You've got a bunch of soldiers meeting you on the door asking for IDs. Then you were walking around a room speaking, or walking around the whole site really, speaking to different actors. I had people analysing your eyeballs and
Oh yeah, we got
doing research.
questioned and all sorts. Got given different missions to complete.
You
It
did,
was
That's
that's right.
brilliant.
You
no,
were
it really
sent, and then
was.
you were released into the wild. We had a really good
Mm.
briefing in a little cinema, which you might
Yes.
remember.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we had a big speech that was given at the end. It was quite interesting. We told everyone they had to go and form a mission where they had to form the letter V over about a mile or 2 mile square location in London. So they
Yes.
went all around London finding locations. They had to
Yes.
converge on a specific coordinates, each
That's
person
right.
did.
At a
And
certain
sure enough, on a
time.
tracking system, we formed a great big V in the middle of central London, which looked fabulous
Yeah, yeah,
when it all came to fruition. And
yeah.
then you had to make your escape by going out to a coordinate where you would be picked up by a transport and delivered back to the
Mm.
base. So yeah, we had the actors meet you in central London, and people were chasing you as well. So we had bad actors, so to speak, who were hunting people down in Trafalgar Square and all over the place,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
just made for an exciting race, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm.
We did try to get something similar off the ground the following year, which was similar but a slightly different idea. But we ran into permissions issues with the Forestry Commission over in Norfolk somewhere, and without giving you the dull details, we never got that going. However, I did write a script for a sequel to Metropolis, which is still bubbling away in the background, and
Oh, do it, do it, do it.
Yeah.
hopefully we'll do that. But I did bring a little bit of the actors into the recent Escape from Meriden as well. So
Did you?
I've not let that completely go. We managed to bring that into EFM recently as well. So it's
Oh, but
still
I love that. It just makes it so unique and different, and as you say, memorable. Um,
just,
then
And it almost distracts you from the running in hand
yes.
because you've got so much other stuff to think about. It's like the running element is secondary to
Mm.
everything else that's your senses are being bombarded
Oh, and,
with.
and especially, I mean, in Metropolis, going through London at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning, it's fascinating because you're seeing all these random people out.
which you would never ordinarily
No,
do.
absolutely. So you're not really thinking about, oh my God, my legs are killing me.
Yeah,
It's more just that you're just in this such a bizarre situation.
yeah.
You're not thinking about the physicality of it.
You're almost in that fight or flight situation, aren't you? Because
Yes.
you are
Yeah.
you are being,
Yeah.
you've got
You're
so
like,
much to think
what?
about and process.
Yes.
It's like the last thing you need to worry, you just need to keep moving.
Mm. Yes.
That's it. And it is that interesting, with, as you say, with every event, more or less all of them now, with the exception of a couple of what I would call very basic point-to-point races. They've all got something a little bit quirky going on, whether it be Escape
Mm.
from Meriden, or I do an apocalypse
The
race.
yeah, the four horses, that's quirky as well. But they're all different lengths, aren't they? Are they out and backs or they're little loops?
Little loops, yeah, out
Mm.
of Church Stretton. Church Stretton is, if you haven't visited an area that's
Mm.
locally known as Little Switzerland, it's got lots
Yeah.
of short,
Mm.
sharp hills, which I've placed the HQ right in the middle there and send people out on one of four different loops. But the quirky aspect of it is you can go out on any of the four loops at any time and go in any direction. And as a result, nobody knows who is winning the race because
That's
you're all
right.
going
That's
in
Yeah.
great.
completely different
Mm.
Yeah.
directions. So it
Yeah.
makes it very exciting because it's impossible to know who's winning. You don't know. You're competing against your own ability, really, because you've got no clue where you
No.
are in the rankings. And the reason it's appealing to people is the medal I made is a modular one with a main circular piece and four little extra medals. And you get to add the four little medals on. And if you don't manage to complete all four loops one year, you can come back and complete the other two or the other one another year. So I like to keep all my races as accessible to every ability as I can. I recognise some people are going to walk 99% of the race, and other people are going to test themselves to the very nth of their ability and try to run every single scrap of it. And I like to be able to say, come along and walk it, or you can sit and eat pizza all day at my HQ, or you can go out and run all day long, and I don't mind which at the end of the day. So it's
That's great. And that's
Yeah.
that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's getting people involved and getting people out there
Mm.
and
mm.
testing their own limits and their own, potential with
Mm.
no kind of expectation. Do you would you be able to say what your past or present favorite race is or has been?
It has to be Escape from Meriden. I think it's such a kind of runaway success, and the fact that it's still so busy and still gains so much
Mm.
interest every year. I mean, Metropolis, I really did enjoy, and I want to do more of the actors and the immersive because it keeps me very interested, and I get to do lots of strange, weird, and wonderful research and painting things and hiring actors. That is again that keeps me very engaged too.
Mm.
But there's a lot of work, an awful lot of work in that. And as I say, I spent so much money on props and expensive medals and all sorts of things. Barely made a penny out of it, but I didn't care because it was seeing the enjoyment on everyone's
Yeah.
face and taking part of it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. That's what really kind of gratifies me. But EFM, yeah, that's probably got to be the annual favourite for me,
It,
really. Yeah,
just
Escape from America.
explain for anyone listening, if you haven't heard of this, just
What it
explain what the
is.
concept is, will you?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting story is where the idea came from, and people ask me that from time to time, and it's a good introduction to the race itself. I got a phone call into the tracking company, I guess 10 years ago, from a university, and it was either, I forget, it was the student union or the dean or somebody said, "Hi, we're looking to hire some trackers for a race that we're doing, and people have got 24 hours to get as far from." Can't remember the name of the university after all these years. Let's say it was, I don't know, Oxford or wherever it might be. And I
Mm.
said, "Oh, that's quite interesting." I says, "And how far do people get?" He says, "Oh, well, last year we got people landing in Argentina." I said, "Ah." I says,
What?
"Okay." I said, "Right, okay, that's interesting." And if people they don't have any money and they can't pay, they've got to basically beg, borrow. I wouldn't say steal, but they've got to see whose charity they can impress upon to get as far away
Oh,
from
wow.
university as they could. And I put the phone down. I thought that's a really interesting idea, but what if you can't
Mm.
use transport?
Nice.
What if you've got to do it
You
on
had to
foot?
run.
And almost within 24 hours, I I had the idea of starting at a central point, and the central point happens to be the geographic centre of England, which historically is Meriden. There's a 500-year-old cross on the village green there, which states it's the centre of England. I think cartographers might argue the toss these days and might say it's a few hundred yards one direction or somewhere else. But Meriden still lays the claim to be the centre of England. And as a result, what happens is that people gather around that cross at midnight in the middle of November, well, in June as well this year, but in the middle of November. And they are then released, and they have 24 hours usually to get as far away from Meriden as they can on foot. And their distance is measured as the crow flies. So it pays to do your research in terms of a route which is quite efficient. Maybe it's not too hilly. Maybe the ground isn't quick. The ground is quick underneath you. People like to head for canals. So the race can either be done in solo. You can do it in pairs, or this is where Mark Cobain came back into it. You can do it chained. Mark used to organise an event called the Chained Ultramarathon.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Once or twice, and there were some arguments because it was a random toss for who you got chained with. And
yeah, that was a bit mean. I'd always thought that was a bit much.
It wasn't mean. I think it only took place once or twice. And as a result, Mark still to this day has a sack full of medals for that race, and is keen to get rid of them. So he said, "What about doing a chained, which fits very neatly with the kind of prison theme?" So as a result, people can be chained either to one other person or up to 6.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, really?
We have had a team of 4 or 5. We've never had the full suite of 6 yet, but we have had 4 or 5 chained together.
Can you imagine seeing that if you're driving along the road?
That would be
out
so
of
bizarre.
context to seeing these people dress, and you have to wear jumpsuits, don't you? Or they're all wearing orange, aren't they?
They do. It's optional, but most people get into the spirit of this, and they're all wearing orange jumpsuits. Every year, people get stopped by the police. Loads of them get stopped by the police, and although it ends in an initial what's going on here, it usually ends up with a selfie with the police and a few smiles. But if you see 4 people running down the road all chained together, it's going to raise some suspicions from people looking out of the window.
Brilliant.
And logistically, chained is hard. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but when you think of you've got to go to the loo and you've got to,
I was just thinking exactly that.
It makes it a particular challenge that is not.
Well, they say you make best friends, don't you, on a race? But
you do,
you certainly know them well at the end of the event if you didn't know them before. But generally, solos or singles. So we like to have the ability for people to run in pairs because it's at night and we want people to feel safe as well. And the nice thing about the event is you do not have to walk or run or crawl. You can do whatever you wish. There's no time limit on the amount of time that you can rest. Some people start the race at 12, walk 100 meters to the hotel over the road, go to sleep, wake up in the morning at 8 o'clock and carry on at that point in time. So there's nothing in the rules to prevent that, and other people will plan their route via a hotel, via 24-hour McDonald's, via restaurants, or more often cafes, supermarkets in the morning, and that becomes half the fun. It's why people enjoy it so much. There's no pressure. They don't have to meet a time limit. They can set their own distance. They can stop when they want. People can support them. People will drive and follow them, meet them all night in some cases. So it gets friends involved as well. And the spectacle of the tracking, it's almost what tracking was invented for, to see all those dots spread out in a circle all over.
We were glued to it in November. Because I think I knew a few people that were running it. I was actually working in the Innovate shop that day, and the guys I was with, that they knew some people as well. So it was on in the background. Don't tell anyone. But we were just glued to it. It's just amazing.
We had actors this year as well, just to make it interesting. So the website is got a bit of a myth of a crow, a warden who looks after the prison. And this year I hired some actors, one to play the warden, and also hired a couple of, strange as it may sound, fortune tellers, and they were telling highly entertaining, amusing fortunes of what lay in store for people over the course of the evening. And so it was, and also had prison guards, a bit of a Shawshank Redemption type of tough old prison guards, making people do penalties and things like that, all in the spirit of entertainment. There's no pressure for anyone. The more you put into these events and you have a bit of banter with the actors, the more you get out of it. But if you just want to turn up at the Crafts and Run, you can do that. But I thought it was a 10th anniversary. Let's make it a little bit quirky and interesting. So that's what we did this year to add a bit more fun to it.
Brilliant.
And it's got to work. I mean, you've got to ask yourself, is ultra racing changing slightly? Are, some events are very successful and are growing, others are struggling. You can argue that perhaps the market is getting a bit saturated, particularly in the UK. We've only got 52 weekends. We just can't fit them all in. And maybe things like the sort of backyard ultras, it's these sort of new and different formats that are appealing to people. And the sort of the FKTs and the sort of records, people are just liking the idea of doing something a bit different and a bit quirky.
I think you're right. I mean, there's lots of companies have come and gone over the years. Some really successful companies have decided to stop, and I think that's partially competition. There is, as you say, so many races out there. Any weekend you point to, there's 5-10 races these days. And there's lots of really great professional full-time race directors who are doing a great job. When you think of Centurion, GB Ultras, and all those guys who've got a really good following, they're doing it to earn a living, and they're putting on hugely and highly professional events, and they've got a great market. There's lots of smaller race directors, and nobody, I think, should probably go into race directing if they think they're going to make a profit out of it. I mean, it's not my intention anyway, but it's a very difficult market to try and make money out of it. I think you have got to be a little bit different. People will do the popular races year in, year out. So things like Lakeland, Mark of Attrition, things like that, and Spine, and all of those races which are on the calendar. They're nailed on. They're not going anywhere anytime soon, but most of them are at the more expensive end of the kind of pay scale. And I think that is probably everyone's only got so much money to spend, and I think those races are premium, really well run, and people are perhaps saving for those races and have a little less to spend on some of the grassroots runs. So that might be why some of the cheaper events have perhaps suffered. And I think perhaps it's only by diversifying, doing some quirky and interesting races, or not doing as many and doing fewer. I don't know what the answer is to keep the market buoyant, but at the moment it seems to be just about working, although companies do come and go. So again, it'll be interesting to see how they all how the market evolves. It is almost saturated, as you say. Everything's getting more expensive to do with races. I mean, a pair of trainers I bought 20, 30 years ago for 20 quid, and now here we are at 200 plus pounds for a pair of trail shoes. So it's expensive in all all areas. Yeah. So but there are still, you can go out and do a long distance walkers association ultra marathon and pay 10 quid and get fed all the way around and get fed at the end. So you don't have to pay a lot of money to do events. Of course you can go and do an ultra in your own backyard, quite literally, without being a backyard ultra, and still enjoy it. So but people are, I think, being careful how they spend their money these days. They might be putting a big chunk into something, and perhaps that's why some of the other races have disappeared over the years. But there's lots of really good professional companies, and it's nice to see all those guys being so successful and making a living out of it. I can genuinely say 10 years ago, I think 10 to 15 years ago when I first started, I thought, would I like to be a full-time race director? And very quickly, within a year or two, I thought, actually I
No.
wouldn't. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't want it ever to feel like work. I want to actually enjoy it. So I decided to just keep it spinning for fun. I can't run anymore. I got injured. I've been injured longer than I had a running career as now. So the other reason was to keep me involved in the sport. That was the other big driver. I should have mentioned that a while ago. So whilst I can still walk perfectly well and no one would really tell the difference, running is not something I'm able to do. So I like to to still be involved in the sport by helping people achieve their goals, but making people put through the pain that I went through 15 years ago when I was doing them all.
What's in the lineup for 2026 with Beyond
Uh,
Meriden?
I'm in a very probably unique and interesting position that every single one of my 2026 races is sold out.
Wow.
Oh wow! Oh, well
So
done.
it's
That's awesome.
it's good position to be in, and I think it's as a result of one, just controlling those few number of races. I hope because they're the high quality, and also because I'd make them pretty cheap. I say pretty cheap, but affordable. It's probably how I would phrase it. So as a result, the races do tend to sell out all within a day or within 2 minutes. Well, I think Escape from Meriden sold all 500 places in 10 seconds this year, which was staggering. So this year, I think holds the opener is an event called Fallout in March 2026. Fallout is very much like Escape from Meriden, but it's a 12-hour version. And the secret sauce with that one is that there is a cloud that expands on the tracking map in real time, chasing you, and the cloud catches you up. You are vaporized. And if you reach the 40-mile mark, it starts from near Oxford. And if you reach the 40-mile mark, you are safe. If you do get zapped by the cloud, you can still carry on, but we send you one of two medals: a survivor or a vaporized medal. So that's a quirky one. That's the season opener in March.
Brilliant.
And then in April is the Apocalypse Ultra, which is anything from 10 to 50 miles, depending on how you do those 4 different loops. And that one's in Church Stretton. In June, I've put on, as a result of demand, another Escape from Meriden called the Escape from Meriden Solstice. And it was really just the shock and awe of seeing 500 places sell so quickly and receiving a lot of emails to say, I'm really disappointed. I said, this year I will put an Escape from Meriden Solstice on, which is around the solstice time. Next year, maybe I'll make it into a ballot so everyone's got a fairer shout. But Solstice this year is starting from the same place, but it's starting in the middle of June, near to the solstice time. So you've got more daylight. And one interesting capability is it gives you time. I think it's 35. You've got, I'm giving everyone 48 hours, but you've got 35 hours away to get to sunrise at Stonehenge if you wish. It's one possible option. Ooh. So if you are that way inclined, you can leave at midnight on the Friday and get to Stonehenge on the solstice day.
You can dance naked around stones.
So that's solstice in June. After that, I've got a little bit of a break into July, and every 2 years since 2016, I've organised King Arthur's Dyke race, which is the King Arthur's Dyke National Trail on the border, the old England and Wales border. A lot of that, the old earthwork dyke is still there, and that's always popular. It's been a real kind of breeding ground, oddly enough, for Innovate. Both Sarah's won it and Jack. How could I forget Jack? Yeah, so Jack was completely green to almost the whole running scene.
Really?
I've still got an interview from him in 2017, I think it was, where he'd won it, and to see him come as far as he has, it's amazing. Wow. So it's interesting. Offa's Dyke is about, I do 100-mile, which is some of it, and 180, which covers the whole length. So that is in late August. And that's full. I think I cap that at around 90 people, just to keep the size manageable and friendly. And I don't want to hire big venues, so it's nice to get to know everyone over the course of a few days, which I like to. And then a couple of weeks after that is the Gritstone Grind, which is a very popular 35-mile journey through the Peak District, starting near Stoke-on-Trent or in Stoke-on-Trent at Kidsgrove. And they wind their way 35 miles over the Peak District to end up on the outskirts of Stockport at Disley. And that's again very popular event. Well, you can walk that one. It's a 12-hour time limit, 34 miles or so, and I often walk it myself a day or two beforehand, just to show everyone that you don't have to be a fabulous someone who's running every step of the way. I genuinely, partially because it's enforced, walk every step of it. And show people, look, you can walk it, and I even stop for a pub lunch. So there's no pressure to be running all the time. And ultra running is doing a bit of running, a bit of eating, a bit of walking, as we all know. Unless you're Jack or Sarah, superheroes, very few of us are running up all the hills where Absolutely. We're stopping for a sandwich on the way up as well.
Jab.
And then the last one is Escape from Meriden. Yeah, so the closing down at the end of November, middle of November, is the FM. So that's the whole year. Is planned. A few other trips to help out other race directors. I'll go and help out Mark. I'm going to help out one of the Armed Forces charities, help supply tracking for one of their races somewhere over abroad as well. So I dip in and out of a few other things, but beyond marathon perspective, it's that kind of tight little set of races just for 2026. But it's nice to have them all sold out straight away.
Yeah,
so it's good. Yeah.
Wow. Faye, have you got any more questions?
I haven't, but I would, as we were chatting, I was like, I'm going to log off and I'm going to have a look at these races. And
then you'll have lots more questions.
We're going to have to wait until 2027.
Yes. When do entries open for all these races for 2027?
They vary to some extent. I would like to tell you I'm super organised and I have them all available the day after the other one finishes, like all proper professional race organisers do, and I don't. The only one that very strictly opens a week after the other event has finished is Escape from Meriden. It's because every year I put on a fiendishly difficult little quiz, and if you go and find a code, you can get one of 50 places in advance before they go on general.
I saw that on Facebook. You have a quiz, and then you can only get all the answers if you've sort of read something, whether it's the website or terms and conditions or something.
There's all sorts. I hide little pictures, or I put embed things in various websites. I make people watch music clips on YouTube or movie clips, all sorts of things to give
that's great
some entertainment to a Friday afternoon. And if they piece together all of those puzzles, and it's not easy, it usually takes a couple of hours. There's about 50 places up for grabs in advance. So that one is very firmly in the calendar as a bit of fun.
Yeah.
The other races, they typically will go on sale. I put quite a lot of them on sale around the September time, and one or two. The 1st of January, I put Gritstone on and off sale very quickly. I would like to give you be there on this date and time. The best thing to do is keep an eye on
I'm more anxious about another Metropolis or something escaping my attention.
Well, I've still got that one bubbling away. I'm trying to organise. I was trying to organise something with a local prison. Strange as that sounds, but there's a couple of prisons which are available for hire and rent. Shrewsbury is one of them. I had a couple of initial conversations with them, and it may be that I want to put an Escape from Meriden / Metropolis with a real prison break feel to that, with actors involved, where you're having a whole scenario within the prison, and then you get to go and do your escape afterwards. So that is one possibility. Metropolis 2 is something a little bit different, and that might also come to fruition, since that was, again, maybe in London. We'll have to see, but keep your eyes peeled. Maybe speaking about it now will give me more impetus to go and finish the script.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much, Richard. It's been fascinating. And yeah, I think we both wish you the very best and hope
Yeah,
your events go
absolutely.
smoothly and the weather's good for all of them and nobody gets lost.
Thank you very much.